joining us right now. You want to talk about somebody who I will not have many food conversations with because just quite frankly, and listen, opinions are opinions and everybody has them and that's your opinion. But I think Grant and I are together on a lot of things. I think if you ask me, I would say DeMarcus Cousins and different food items are probably the things we've had the most separating opinions on, and I actually think we're a lot closer on DeMarcus than we are on food. Joining us right now, play-by-play voice television for your Sacramento Kings, also host of the Grant Napear Show with Doug Christie each and every afternoon from 3 to 7. The one, the only, Grant Napear. Hello, Grant.
So are you saying that the Kings should not have traded DeMarcus Cousins?
Good start.
All right. Good talking to you, Grant. We'll see you tomorrow. No, I'm saying that our old friend Chris Granger is out in Detroit, and
Yep.
and as you and I both love him equally, he's awesome, and he is the head of all things Detroit sports. And we were looking at food because I'm kind of a fat guy, Grant. And I love me some food, and they had this egg roll filled with a hot dog and chili, and then deep fried. But
That's disgusting.
But they're saying that they topped it with mustard, and I'm saying I don't think they got it right. I think you top it with cheese, not mustard.
Well, first of all, who would eat that in the first place?
If it was cheese, I mean, I don't know if I'll tell you this much: if I knew I was going to be home within a half an hour, I would eat it.
Oh my gosh!
But
wow.
I mean, do you have you listen? You grew up going to New York Giants games. You've worked at a ton of games over the years, but I know you also attend ball games as well. Whether it's Yankee Stadium, whether it's Giant Stadium, is there a go-to sports attending food that you love more than anything?
No, when I was growing up and we had season tickets for both the Giants and the Jets, I remember as a kid, I think my dad would give my brother and I $1 each, and that normally would get 2 hot dogs, a soda, and an ice cream throughout the day of a 3-hour football game. And I'm not exaggerating. I believe the hot dogs were 25 cents and drink. It may have been maybe $1.25 but it wasn't much. So I've never eaten fancy food at a sporting event. As a matter of fact, I can't ever remember paying to go to a sporting event and buying anything that's even remotely extravagant. I don't think I've ever done it in my entire life. And by extravagant, I mean anything that's not your basic, hot dog, hamburger,
Sure,
pretzel, ice cream, beer, soda. I don't think I've ever done it. I can't. If I have, it's, I've been to the Super Bowl twice. Again, very basic food I ate there. And I don't know. I think maybe part of the reason is the cost. I just can't get myself to spend that much on a food item at a sporting event. Or it could be just habit. I can't remember ever buying anything that is, as I said, remotely extravagant at a sporting event.
What about the Masters?
No, at the Masters, the food there is extremely basic, dude.
That's my point.
And I had my VIP pass for, that special area. And even back there, I was still ordering pretty, routine food, but that was all free.
That's kind of weird, wasn't it? Last year you were at was it a year ago?
Yeah, it was last year. Last year on the opening round Masters. Yep, absolutely. So, and again, anyone that ever gets an opportunity to ever get a pass, even if it's for a practice round, I was thinking that in retrospect, it might even be better to be there on a practice round because you can take your camera in and take pictures.
Oh, I didn't know that. You can for that, huh?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh.
Once Thursday begins, you can't even take your cell phone in. You have to check it before you walk into the venue. So, yeah, if you go there on the par 3 or Tuesday on the practice round, you can actually bring your camera in and take pictures. And I was thinking, if I go back again, I would love to go back where I could take pictures.
I just want to go once in my life.
That's all you need to go.
Yep.
And then it's incredible. Just go once. You have to do it. Just doesn't matter what day it is. Just go do it. It's incredible.
Is there anything on your sports bucket list you haven't done, Grant?
Yeah, I want to go to a Saturday night football game in Baton Rouge, and I want to go to a day game at Ole Miss and go check out the Grove. So those are two things that I want to do. I want to go to an SEC game Saturday night, LSU, and I want to go to an Ole Miss game and check out the Grove. I hear it's phenomenal. to see Ole Miss. So those are two of the things I still want to do.
I know for a fact you've knocked out an SEC game on a Saturday night before. Actually, excuse me, that was a Thursday night, I believe. Wasn't that?
That was a Thursday night. Yeah, exactly. And you know what?
Auburn.
That was you and I were standing on the sideline of the Kentucky-Auburn game, and that was unbelievably cool. Now, back then, this is when, Kentucky was only a basketball school, and I think since then they've done a nice job building up their football program. But that was a great game we were at. That was a 3-point game at the end, wasn't it?
If I remember correctly, we were standing on the sideline just feet away, wasn't it? Was it either Auburn punched through or Kentucky was trying to punch through and didn't? Because I know Kentucky lost, but I believe that was happening like literally 3 feet away from us.
It was incredible. What a phenomenal atmosphere. And again, when you think SEC football, you don't think Kentucky. Can you imagine what a game would be like, at Alabama or at Baton Rouge on a Saturday night, or Georgia, or as great as that was, that's
sure.
not that.
No.
So
Tallahassee.
I can't even imagine. Right. Yeah. Well.
Yeah.
Let's not get carried away.
I know this. I know there was tailgating at the Kentucky game. I know you and I didn't participate. Of course, we watched only.
That's correct.
That is
we
correct.
Didn't participate.
We did.
Yeah. So it was fun. So hey, all right. So what's your bucket list? What do you have on your sports bucket list that you absolutely have to do?
I did the Super Bowl. I did it once. I'm good. I don't need to do it again. I would say, obviously, I can't say something like Kings in the NBA Finals because that's specialized. But number one on my list, more than anything, is the Masters. That is by far and away number one. And then probably number two, I know you'll be right there with me, Old Trafford in Manchester, England, to go see Manchester United play a team. That would that would probably maybe opening ceremonies at the Olympics, which I'm hoping to do in Japan here in a couple years. But I would say Masters by far number one, and you got to knock that out and then some last year.
Yeah, absolutely. So you're going to go to the Olympics in Japan?
Yeah. I'm going to try to go to the Summer Olympics I've never been to Japan, and I've always wanted to go, and I got some buddies, some mutual friends of yours and mine, as a matter of fact, that are going to go over there. So I'm hoping if I can get permission from Melissa.
You'll do it. Let's go for it. Yeah, that would be incredible to be at the opening ceremonies of the Olympics. I totally agree. That would be absolutely incredible.
The Sacramento Kings will get killed if we don't talk about this. They edged out the Bulls. I don't know, unpopular opinion here, Grant, but in reading the small yet loud minority of fans on social media, they beat the Bulls because they finally got great coaching and the players wanted it more.
Is that right? They didn't beat the Bulls because they're a better team?
Right. No, it was because
gotcha.
the point is that they lost all those Warriors games and the Nuggets game and the two Celtics games because the coaching was terrible and the players just didn't want it.
Well, I haven't heard that as much as you have, but I would just say that you laugh when you read, and the fans sometimes lose their perspective on where this team is, what they are capable of doing, but more importantly, what's realistic. And I've always said, particularly when you get to the All-Star break and you have 25 or 30 games left, night in, night out, the better teams normally win the games because they understand that they got to kick it into overdrive. That's why you don't see the Spurs losing many games now, okay, because they get it, okay? They now that the postseason's coming in. Other than Washington, the Kings have not lost, in my opinion, to a team that they should not have. In other words, the only team that I think the Kings absolutely, when you look back during this streak, that should have beat the Washington Wizards.
Yep.
Every other team they've lost to, and correct me if I'm wrong, if I'm forgetting a team, has been a better team than the Kings. That doesn't mean you can't beat a better team. I mean, the Kings beat Oklahoma City 3 times this year, but you got to be realistic.
You're talking about for the season?
No, I'm talking about since the All-Star break.
I got you. I'm sorry. Okay, so yeah, the Suns and all that there was a couple.
No, I'm talking about the 2 losses to Boston.
Yep.
And I can go right on down the list. The loss at Philadelphia, the loss, the home losses that they lost to on that 1-3 homestand.
Right.
I mean, they lost to teams that were better than them. That doesn't mean that the Clippers are a better team than them.
Right.
I mean, how could anyone say they're not? They have a much better record, and they beat the Kings 4 times. They are a better team, period.
Yep.
The Kings have I don't have a problem with the Kings and what they're doing now, despite the fact that since the All-Star break they have a losing record. they have been unbelievably competitive against teams that are better than they are. Even the road trip, they played Boston right down to the wire. They were very good against Philadelphia, but they're not as good as those teams, so they lost. Why is that so hard for fans to understand?
I have no idea. I understand. It's been, you and I have had a lot of off-air conversations about this, where it's so weird this year that if we had been told that 41 wins, maybe even 42, 43 was in play, as we've said many times, we would have been drug tested in October. Now we're here, and you see, I almost see more people upset at whether it's players or coaches this year than I did last year when this team truly was terrible. And I understand adjusting expectations. I understand not being happy with moral victories and blah, blah, blah. But it baffles me, Grant, when I zoom out and look at this season as a Kings fan, how anyone can't be completely ecstatic.
25 months ago, the Kings made a gigantic deal, and they were ridiculed all over the country for it. And here we are, 2 years removed. The Kings, in all likelihood, are going to win at least half their games, have on their roster right now, I am very comfortable in saying this, multiple All-Stars, okay? There is no doubt in my mind that on the Kings roster right now, there are at least 2 All-Stars in the near future, okay? I believe that they are going to add to their roster this summer a very good player. And I believe, and again, you can't predict injuries, okay? So I'm going to just say, barring injury, I think it's realistic that the Kings can win 50 games next year. That's how optimistic I am. And I've watched this team for 31 years. I've watched the NBA up close and personal. The Kings are on a major upswing. They have big-time talent. They are on their way. I believe that they are very close to being a playoff team for many years to come. What else do we need to talk about, right? I mean, that's how good I think this team is going to be. They are right there.
Somebody said something. I forget the media guy's name, and this is a taboo subject in this town. But somebody tweeted out yesterday. Grant, I think he responded to it. Forgive me if I'm wrong.
I did.
Who said Marvin Bagley will never be Luka Doncic, and I'm
right.
paraphrasing, but people forgotten about him. He has a great chance of being an amazing player, blah, blah, blah. I took that. I actually tweeted that out, and I took that as maybe the wrong way. I took that as like tremendous praise for Marvin Bagley, and that Bagley will never be Luka, but at the same time, Luka will never be Bagley. We've talked about it before. I'll ask you again. Isn't it quite possible that we're looking at 2 All-Stars in a draft that'll probably have multiple All-Stars who just happen to have different skill sets, and that's as good as that?
Well, I'll just put it to you this way, and I'm going to leave DeAndre Ayton out of it because I don't know the answer to it. Atlanta would still take Trae Young. Dallas would still take Luka Doncic. Sacramento would still take Marvin Bagley. And I think Memphis, safe to say, would still take Jaren Jackson Jr. And, oh, yeah, by the way, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is a starting point guard on a team that's going to win maybe 47 to 48 games and be in the playoffs, and nobody talks about him. It is a tremendous rookie class. It's tremendous. And the Kings got themselves a player that, again, barring injury, is going to be a perennial all-star in this league. I'm very comfortable in saying that. I actually think Marvin Bagley has a chance, and again, assuming that he plays his entire career in Sacramento, I believe that he's talented enough that he has a chance to be, when he's all said and done and retire, as good as any player that's ever worn a Sacramento Kings uniform. That's how good I think he can be. So, all right, let's say I'm wrong, okay, and let's say that he's not the greatest player that the Kings have ever had, but he's a multiple-time All-Star. That's still a really good draft pick. And I don't see any way he's not a multiple-time All-Star. Like, I can't – he just turned 20, and he's already this good. And as Doug Christie said on the radio yesterday, he doesn't even know how to play the NBA game yet.
Sure.
Just watch this kid. And I will say this about Luka. Luka is going to be the Rookie of the Year. I predicted he would be Rookie of the Year before the season began. I'm not so sure that Luka has that much more room for improvement. I really believe that Luka right now is as good as he's going to get, and that's still pretty good. But I've said this, and I'm on the record, and I don't have any problem saying this. I believe that when both careers are done, you will look back and say Marvin Bagley was the better NBA player, and I'm sticking to that. There's nothing that I've seen this year that would make me change my opinion on that.
I hope you're right. Grant Napear joining us. Grant, going into, we're not there yet, and I'm sure we'll have a season wrap-up together, but am I missing anything here? Vlade Divac is going to have a very interesting summer, and this is in no order of importance, but I've got four big decisions he's got to make. Signing his own extension, what to do with the coach and an extension, free agent center, free agent backup point guard. Am I missing anything?
No, and I think you went right in the order. I mean, he's got to get a new deal first. I mean, that's first and foremost.
Sure.
Then he has to decide how he's going to handle the coach and a possible extension. And then I think that the Kings will have they have some money. We don't know what Harrison Barnes is going to do yet, so we have to remember that.
True.
But I'm with you all along. I think the four things you said are spot on. But the first thing that has to happen is Vlade Divac has to get a new contract. He has said, and he's been very consistent, he didn't want to talk about it during the year. He didn't want to interfere with anything that was going on. It wasn't important during the year, and that all of these things could be addressed when the season was over. So, but that, to me, that's the first thing. And I can't imagine him not getting a new deal. That would shock me. And I would think it would have to happen fairly soon after the season, because once April 10th comes and goes, then it's right back to work. You got to figure out, okay, what are you going to do with Willie? What do you think is going to happen with Harrison Barnes? Who are you going to target in free agency? And, oh, yeah, by the way, you have an entire coaching staff that is entering the final year of the deal. So there's a lot of work to be done, and it has to be done soon.
You can hear Grant Napear afternoons 3 to 7 with Doug Christie. You'll also be able to hear and see him tonight. Pregame 6:30-ish, tip-off 7 o'clock. We'll, of course, have that coverage, too, here on KHTK with Gary Gerald. Have a great call tonight. Hopefully we get a Kings win, and I will see you at Golden One tomorrow. So
that was a good trade that the Kings made 2 years ago, right?
I'll tell you this much. I'll tell you.
I love when I love when I can get you to pause, because when I can get you to pause,
Grant,
that is just the best thing in the world.
We got to go to break, and now you're going to make him go off on this. This is unbelievable.
Can I tell you this? I think it'd be an even. Hey, I think it'd be an even better trade if we re-signed him this summer. Is that fair?
You got a better chance of being re-signed to. You would have a better chance of being the Kings starting center next year.
I'll see you.
And you're not in great shape right now, and you would still have a better chance of being the 5-man.
That is Grant Napear. Pauses all around. We'll be texting off air, and I'm sure we won't be able to read those on the air. Thank you, buddy. I'll talk to you soon. Take care. We'll take a break.
You're listening to The Drive.